I found it very fascinating to work here because I felt I could make a big difference. I did feel that we needed to, that there needed to be more education about peace and conflict studies and how it can come to these terrible things. I grew up basically after the war in a Germany that was rising, in a small community that was doing well, wasn't bombed out or anything. My mother was a refugee from Czechia, so I heard some of her stories. One of her brothers got killed. When I moved abroad, it became clearer and clearer to me I was going to be identified as a German, as a representative of that culture and of that murderous history for the rest of my life. As for Model UN, that's a little different. I like that for various reasons. One is that it's a kind of holistic learning. In a way, I feel that the Model UN is an ideal way of learning. The students work as a team. They take on a subject that they like. They choose the country. And then they start really digging. They begin to do research. They write a little bit. They really become experts about that one country and the relationships to other countries and the history of that country and all the contemporary issues that are going on. And I think it fosters a kind of thinking. Once you have thought in that way and you've worked with the team to explore a topic, that is something that you can transfer, and it changes the mind. And then they go to this conference and it's a big shock. It's just a big shock then.
We have having some tensions between countries, and we need to learn how to keep peace between countries. You just organized an academic festival together with Professor Andres Aluma.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about the theme of this academic festival and why it is important to these times?
Colombia has one of the most difficult histories, I think. There's a lot of violence, I think, in a number of countries that suffered through the Cold War. And I think Colombia is basically a case in point. It was one of the conflicts that came out of the Cold War. So the United States is involved in that in some way. We saw Amada Benavides, and she was going to be able to talk about the difficulty of the process to move from a simple armistice to the conception of a comprehensive peace process that would include economic growth, that would include working with communities on that memory piece. What do we need to remember? How do we make sure the lines between the perpetrators and the victims are not that clear-cut and one group is not totally excluded? So we were interested in bringing her in both to describe how that conflict unfolded, but also what you can do and the scope of what it takes to actually overcome that kind of conflict. Create opportunity, economic opportunity, educate people about resolving conflict in a peaceful manner, listening to one another, preserving the memory, honoring the suffering that has happened, and finding a way to define some common goals. That doesn't need to be a nationalistic goal.